Hi, welcome back to Cheyenne, Wyoming Urban Gardener. This is Debbie, and this is the part 3 that I was talking about with our new trellises and the weeding in the garden and all of that. So we did go through and hill up some of the beans because they were getting really big, because these are the ones in the bush beans in the back that were up first. So it's been a couple of weeks and they needed hilling up, and we will have to work on this front section pretty soon. So anyway, onions again doing great. All of the new onions we planted are coming up as well. All the tomatoes, super sauce, and all of that. The San Marzano, Old German, and Giant Ox Hearts are all doing fantastic. They're getting quite big now, and again, that's why we're thinking about going ahead and putting the tomato cages on them, just to keep them a little bit more stable. I've noticed that the San Marzano are very uniform in their shape, very compact, really. Even though they're starting to get bigger, they kind of just stay the same. So they're a little bit more sturdy, I would say, than the super sauce tomatoes. The super sauce tomatoes get pretty tall pretty quick, and then they start filling out afterwards. So they're a little spindly until they start filling out. So that can be a little bit tough if you've got wind. But I did go ahead and secure them really well with clips. You can see the clips right there. So they are not moving. When the wind blows, the only thing that blows around is their leaves. So we've really worked with getting everything secure with the wind this season. The wind has been bad everywhere, and I've heard people talking about it from here in Wyoming to California all the way back to Tennessee. So I've heard people talking about the wind, that it's been really bad this season. So no surprise there. Calendula, you can see all of that in the front section in front of the tomatoes. It's all up. Some of it a lot bigger than others because it came up first, and then I actually filled in a little bit with some of the seeds that I saved from last season. So we will have calendula in a lot larger section this season because I did expand the garden a few feet. Now, there is something new and exciting for us that I wanted to show everybody. You can see a pile of vines over there, leaves and sticks and stuff like that. That is because you notice the fence that used to be covered in Virginia creeper is no longer covered in Virginia creeper. We took all of that down, at least I did. I did that all this morning. I just wanted to do like a 3 feet section this morning, and then I had noticed that the Virginia creeper was actually breaking the fence. It was so heavy and had been here for so long that if you notice, there's a bend in the fence in the middle. That's because it was breaking the pole that goes along the fence, as well as it bent a lot of the tops parts of the fence, and I've been going around and trying to fix them. One particular section is actually pretty bad, that it bent a lot of the top part on the fence. So it was a good thing we went ahead and did that. Now we will end up battling the Virginia creeper because it'll keep coming back. Right now there's still sections that are across the fence that are on someone else's property, and I cannot touch that. All I can do is just try to keep it back as much as I can on the front section of the fence. So we will battle this every season, probably throughout the season, for an indefinite amount of time until we finally get it completely killed out. But we will not be putting Virginia creeper along this fence anymore. In fact, what we will be using it for is there is a strip of soil that is up against the fence. It's about a foot wide, and I have planted some delicata squash, as well as some Kentucky Wonder pole beans and some more of the rattlesnake pole beans all along that fence, and sunflowers and a couple other different kinds of things in here. But all along this fence we will be planting things that will vine and climb the fence during the garden season, which will be pole beans, cucumbers, squash, things like that. Now, I'm not a big fan of trellising squash, but in the situation of the fence and having a little bit more privacy, I'll risk it because delicata squash are kind of small. The vines get big, but the squash are pretty tiny. So I will suffer a little bit with that. And we can also put our pots now and get sufficient sunlight into them along the fence, which is something that we did here. And we will just go ahead and put pots along the fence and things like that now that we have a lot more sunlight coming into this section. And I still got to clean up a lot because this is just done today. And I was tired, so I went ahead and took a little break, and we had a good dinner. I barbecued some pork ribs, the country style ribs. I barbecued those, put them on the Traeger, barbecued them up. They were delicious. And we also had baked beans and Mexican rice and stuff like that to go along with our meal. And I sat down and had a meal because I've been working every day, all day, from daylight to dark in this garden this year to produce as much food as we can because of the circumstances that are going on out there in the world right now. So we have sunflowers along through here. Our kiwi is starting to grow. There is our little kiwi that has started, and loving that. And then we've got the other kiwi has not gotten leaves yet, but I did notice it is bending, so that means that it is alive. It just hasn't put on leaves yet. But got all these sunflowers through here. We did put some hanging pots on the fence. I tried to get them on the rod, but the rod is too big, so we just put them on the fence. They're pretty light, so we've got some spearmint in that one, and we've got some basil, compact basil in this one, and we've got some tarragon in this one, and in this one we have our lavender. It's called Lady Lavender or Lavender Lady. That'll be coming up in this one. And we've got little hanging pots everywhere with flowers, just beautiful flowers. We've got some petunias, red and white, in there. We've got some dianthus in there, which hasn't bloomed yet because it's a little bit more in the shade, and they like to have a little bit more light. And we do have some, I don't know what those little purple flowers are, but I did notice that they were really good for the garden. And this, of course, is where our artichokes are, and our artichokes are getting bigger. You can see them a lot better now. They're getting new leaves on, looking a lot more green. And we've got some flowers planted back here in the back, nasturtium, zinnias, things like that. Now this is a little bit more shaded, so it's going to take a while for it to come up, but everything looking great. We have our purple passion asparagus here in the front. It hasn't came up yet, so we're thinking about putting some flowers in there. It'll probably come up next season if it does come up, or a little bit later in the season. And we've got some leeks in the front here. Again, these are the leeks. They are called King or Richard leeks. They were getting really spindly inside, so I put them outside for a couple days. They really perked up then, and then I went ahead and transplanted them out. So they are getting bigger. We are seeing some growth on them. You can see one right there. So I'm hoping that they do something. They may not be ready this year. They may have to overwinter, and then they'll be along in the next season. Sorry about that. I heard a lot of noise because we had a van being tugged by another vehicle, and it actually had fallen. So that's what's going on out there in the street. Anyway, they're trying to fix it. Peas looking fantastic. They're beginning to climb the trellis. I actually got in here and planted some more peas in between the trellis and the peas already there, and on the outside as well. So we've got actually 2 more rows of peas that'll be coming up and climbing the trellis as well. So we have that going on, and we've got okra that is now coming up in bukus, and my daughter's going to have to transplant some of them out in between the other okra because they're just coming in too close to the main okra. I had to pause it again because they're being pretty loud out there in the street with this van. Anyway, all of the squash are coming up. We've got all the red curry and the yellow straight neck squash. And then we have a row that I just planted of collards in between that. So there'll be a little bit of a break between them. Hopefully we won't get any cross-pollination, but it's likely going to happen because they are so close together. but that's not something that you would see this season. You would see it next season. So anyway, I'm not too worried about that. We're going to eat the squash anyway. And lettuce is looking really good back there in the back section behind the peas and things, and the celery. Celery looking fantastic. I was surprised. I didn't know if I could grow it because usually you need a lot of compost and things to grow celery, but it seems to like our soil just fine. So we've got lots of celery coming on. I noticed lots of new stalks. Some of it's a little smaller than the others, but it's coming on. Cabbages are doing great. They're starting to form their little heads right now. All the peppers are doing fantastic. They're getting a lot taller now, starting to bloom. So we've got more peppers going on, all the celery, and I did have to replant my dark green zucchini because I only had one come up out of them, and I think it was because of that cold snap. And it'll take just a few days for them to start coming up, so I went ahead and got those replanted. I just tilled up my cauliflower, broccoli, and cabbage today, so you can see that's why it looks like the soil is disturbed. I did hill those up. They do like that when you do that. So I have all of that going on in there. Some of them, especially the broccoli, are getting quite large now, and the cabbage in the back getting very large, beginning to put their heads up. And all of the cabbage over here, I did the same with those. Looking quite good. I think I'm going to have to replace one, but all of them made it but one, and on the red cabbage, one didn't make it, so I've got all of them but one. And then I did replant some more carrots because they came up so thinly. And I replaced those with Shin Kuroda, which are a much bigger type of carrot. So we've got that I just planted today. And then I've got all kinds of lettuces back there. And then I did go ahead and plant some more lettuce seeds in there just to kind of fill it out a little bit more. And these are the Yukon Gold potatoes. They are definitely putting on some greenery now, doing a lot better, coming up, getting green and lush and big. And I have been hilling those up a little bit more just to keep the soil up around those. All of our containers over here looking fantastic. Lots of growth there. Our hibiscus, we have pulled so many flowers because we're saving the flowers for hibiscus sugar and other things and tea. So we've got some more blooms coming on. They've been blooming like crazy. We still need to transplant them into bigger pots, but they are looking great. All of our seedlings over here, all of them have came up except for the oregano, which did come up and then just die off. And again, that's the potting soil issue. Our spearmint didn't come up, so that's why we have the other pot over there. And our thyme, I just noticed the thyme is starting to come up. And the lavender is always really, really slow, but it will come up. Just hasn't done so yet. But we do have the marjoram up, and the dark opal purple basil, and lemon basil and cinnamon basil, and also the lemon mint. We have some of those up, so those are doing good. All of our mint plants over here doing fantastic. And then this is my daughter's new succulent pot, and she got some different types of hens and chicks. Some of them are woolly and some are just regular hens and chicks, so she just put them all together. And some of them are mine from a section that I had in the garden, and I wanted to get them out of the garden. So we have all that going on there in this great big pot, and these are blooming actually, which is beautiful. And marjoram still doing fantastic over here, really filling out now. And this is the one plant that I got out of the seeds that I planted, and it is really filling out. And this mint still doing fantastic, and the rosemary doing wonderful. And again, this is all debris from me taking down the vine. And so you can see now all the way out, the fence is completely cleaned off all the way to the other side. And just to let suburban homesteader Wyoming, Arizona know, her Boston marrows did come up. That's those two right there, and they're looking great, getting their third leaves on now. I did go ahead and put some white pumpkins and standard pumpkins, the ones that I always grow, in this section, and you can see all of those are coming up and putting on their third and fourth leaves now. I did plant some more rutabaga today, and also some more beets in this section. These are gold beets. They're all coming up. And I planted some Jupiter beets. They're right here, and I just planted those today, so they won't be up for a few days. And finally, the Dinosaur Kale is coming in. Only a few of them have came up so far, but that's all I need just to fill out this section. And everything is looking fantastic. So that's a little bit of an update on everything that's going on, all the trellises that we've been building, all the flowers that are blooming, and all of our hanging baskets. We have so many that I've had to hang one on the side. So like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for notices on new videos as they come out. And we will see you in the next one.